You may have heard about trade wars in our discussions and about the economy. And although you do have, for the first time, more voters seeing the economy fading than improving under Trump, there was that new study from Quinnipiac yesterday saying that 30% of respondents said that the U.S. economy was deteriorating, and 31% said it was improving, and 30% said the forecast was holding steady. Overall, this is the first time that that voters are saying the U.S. economy is getting worse than better since President Trump's election amid rising recession fears, according to the new poll. Well, let's talk about a little bit of how the economy interacts with the old global economy as well, because it's also very important to think about why we prioritize certain things over the other and what this trade war anxiety is all about. I got to go to a quick break. I'm going to come right back to this discussion. Actually, can we talk? Is it okay? Just go to him right now. Let's go to him right now, actually. I'm joined now by Ismael Wrixen, who is the CEO of FE International, which is a global market leader in mid-market technology mergers and acquisitions. He has a background that includes large-cap M&A investment banking, where he executed several high-profile public deals, namely in the technology sector. FE International has actually become the preeminent advisor and valuation thought leader in the M&A advisory services industry. They offer a comprehensive exit plan service as well as direct access to an established network of pre-qualified international investors. You can look at their website at feinternational.com, or you can follow them on Twitter at FEINTL, or follow Ismael Wrixen at IWRIXEN. He joins now to talk about this whole trade war and what it is meaning to the bottom line here in America. Welcome to the show. How are you, Ismael Wrixen?
Yeah, thank you very much. Very, very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad that you're here. We're talking about all sorts of issues on the show today, and about almost like the idea of why in this country we prioritize certain things. We think, well, what is the number one priority for a lot of people that seems to galvanize most? It's not doesn't not gun control in this country. It's not even health care. In many ways, it can be the economy. And one of the things that's so influential, at least this week alone, and has been since the G7, was the idea of the trade conflict and the trade anxiety that's happening. What is happening? What is this so-called trade war anxiety about, Ismael?
It's something that's concerning for a lot of people, both in the U.S. and obviously internationally as well, because there are severe ramifications that will be seen on a global basis from certainly what we're hearing in the market so far. I think a lot of the anxiety really stems from the fact that ultimately no one really knows what is going on. I mean, you have kind of both sides, have U.S. and China very much at odds with discussing potential tariffs and kind of retaliations that could be seen on both sides, and with kind of September the 1st and the $300 billion in tariffs that are expected to be imposed on China but by the U.S. At that point. I think a lot of people are very much spooked in the market, and that kind of very much ranges from large corporations all the way down to very, very small businesses. So I think just a lot of the anxiety that we're seeing at the moment, especially the kind of businesses that we deal with, is really about the unknown and the fact that while there is this 1st of September looming deadline, this is not going to be the end of it. And this is, as we've seen with this administration, this is just a way of negotiating, and we expect much, much more to come.
So what is the September 1 deadline we're talking about? Why are so many investors focused on it? And what does it mean for these U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods?
Yes, I mean, so the September the 1st deadline is ultimately the first stage of the U.S. tariffs on around $300 billion of Chinese goods. Obviously, China has said they will retaliate. As to kind of what that looks like, we're not 100% sure yet. But what we're looking at in terms of at least potentially what they could be, the big impact that it's having on the U.S. economy. Certainly, talking a lot of agriculture, a lot of farming, auto parts, aircraft parts. So a lot of the manufacturing base and a lot of the home-produced goods base that this administration was so kind of keen to promote and keen to make America get back to work and make America great again. These are a lot of the industries that are certainly being affected. And the 1st of September really signifies a lot of these kind of tariffs that are going to be coming into place. So very much what we're seeing and what we're expecting is that we've certainly seen that kind of farmers have been amongst the hardest hit so far, but the trade war is hurting sales across not only agricultural products but other industries that are related to manufacturing and exporting, and really the fact that a lot of the, like I said, a lot of the potential future tariffs that may come in are still an unknown, and it's very much down to what the administration will and won't tell the country at this stage, and that is what's really spooking people.
So I'm talking to Ismael Wrixen, who is the CEO of FE International, a global market leader in mid-market technology mergers and acquisitions. I got to ask, for people who may not understand, why is it that American farmers have been among the hardest hit so far, and why, even in the news today, they're talking about the discussions about methane regulation and beyond as being an impact on farmers? What's happening? Is it the soybean industry alone, or are there other factors people are not aware of?
Yes, I mean, soybean, obviously, there are, the fruit, the meat, the grains. I mean, there is a widespread effect. I mean, what we're actually seeing is, China is one of the largest importers of a lot of these goods, and their economy is very much focused on manufacturing at a mass scale, which is obviously one of the reasons that we're even discussing tariffs in the first place, because a lot of those products end up getting sold back into the U.S. economy, which is one of the things this tariff is trying to look to balance out and equalize in terms of where a lot of these kind of electronic and other types of goods come from. But one of the biggest ones that has been hit has certainly been the farmers, and while the negotiations are ongoing, and while they will eventually, I suspect, have a resolution, be that positive, negative, or neutral, what we're actually seeing is a lot of these relationships that have taken decades to build up and have been kind of very profitable for a lot of farmers in the U.S. at this stage have now started to be replaced by farmers in other countries. So lots of farmers in South America, in parts of other parts of Asia, are actually replacing a lot of the demand that was very much filled by the U.S. farmers. So while there may be a resolution, and it may be potentially a somewhat positive resolution to the overall kind of discussions and talks around tariffs, those relationships may have well already been eroded. So it's very much going to be a case that even if this does get resolved, be it September the 1st or 2020, a lot of these relationships have gone, and therefore these farmers are going to have to find other people to ultimately sell their products to.
So what can companies do now to try to thrive amidst this whole uncertainty?
So, with the uncertainty, what we're seeing, and certainly, where we tend to deal in a lot of mergers and acquisitions, anytime there is uncertainty, be that market uncertainty, tariff or regulatory uncertainty, there's always a huge opportunity for, lots of acquisitions, lots of mergers to take place. And given the run-up that we've had over the past kind of 8 to 10 years of very, very solid, stable markets that have been, increasing up until very recently, we're certainly seeing that lots of companies are sitting on capital. They do have the cash flows to go out and acquire and bolt on other businesses, and other businesses that may well have been affected by some of the tariffs and upcoming tariffs that we're expecting here. So we definitely think that there will be a lot of activity, be that on on the acquiring side or actually companies being acquired themselves. And then obviously with the rate cuts we've seen recently, there is the opportunity to go out there and actually borrow money at a cheaper rate as well to kind of weather the storm, which, as I said, very much September the 1st is that looming deadline, but it will take another 6 to 12 months, I suspect, to fully flesh out in terms of what we're going to see happen between the US and China on a more permanent basis. So it's very much just assessing the options out there with regard to kind of existing capital businesses have been able to weather that, and then obviously looking at the debt markets to see what can be done if those opportunities don't exist.
This was so helpful. Thank you, Ismael Wrixen, the CEO of FE International, for breaking this all down for us. We look forward to seeing what happens on September 1st, and now we're more well-versed. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Be right back after a quick break in the Laura Coach Show. You're listening to Talk Empowers and Becomes Action.